As I said earlier, there's three elements to music, which are harmony, melody, and finally rhythm. What is rhythm? Well, if you think about, for instance, dancing, that's a form of rhythm. If you hear drums, that's a form of rhythm. If you hear even just notes in general being played in time, that's rhythm as well. It's basically the thing that drives the music forward, and it just gives the music life. So we're going to take a closer look at that right now. Okay, so in this section, we're going to talk about something that I just said a minute ago, which is timing. What timing is means how accurately can you land on a beat. So I'm sure you've seen people dance who aren't particularly great dancers. That's probably due to the fact that their timing isn't very good and they don't really have a good sense of what a beat is. Okay, so these things that I'm holding here are called metronomes. Okay, there's basically two types. This is the old conventional style. It's not really is in use anymore as what would be like an electronic metronome. Reason they don't use them anymore is because there's mechanical parts in there, and as they go bad, they start to go out of time, which kind of defeats the purpose. So the way this basically works is you just kind of set it in motion, and it creates a ticking sound, and that ticking sound is actually the beat that you're trying to follow. Okay? So that's pretty simple. Now, as you move this weight to different places on the metronome, I don't know if you can see this, but there's actually numbers inside of here. And what those numbers stand for are beats per minute. So like that's kind of like seconds. So like if you set the metronome, for instance, to where it says 60, that would be 1 beat per second. And you can see this one's kind of wobbly and running on its last leg, and then as you set the weight higher, it ticks faster. Okay, so we're going to be concentrating mostly here then on the digital type, just because they're just generally a little more accurate. So what we're going to do here is, if you flip this particular one over, you're going to see that it has all of the same sets of numbers on it that were on the more traditional metronome. And once again, these are all markings for beats per minute. So looking at it from this angle, you're going to see that it says a word tempo right there. Okay? So what tempo is the speed at which a beat is happening. Okay? So what you want to do is set it to different beats. Here's just some basic run around here. 60 would obviously be 1 beat per second for a minute. If you turn it to 80 beats per minute, that's considered a walking pace. Okay, somewhere between the 104 to like 120 area is like general songs. You'll be playing in those tempos quite often, and then as the tempos start to get up more, like 160s, 150s, in that area, you're starting to talk about some faster music. Sometimes like you'll get some like blues or shuffle type music in that tempo. But you know, like I said, generally it's between 104 and 120. Now all you have to do is flip it on, and it starts making that ticking noise. Okay, so we're going to lower this down to about 80 because that's a comfortable place to make sense of this at. Okay, now once you turn it over, most digital metronomes have this light beating on and off, and what that means is that's exactly where the beat is happening. So if you're a visual type person, you want to keep your eye on that to kind of give you a sense, but mostly what you want to do is just try to listen and sense where that beat is occurring. Okay? So a good way to start practicing this, even without a guitar, is to just take your hand, put it on your lap, and every time it ticks, you are going to tap your leg. Pretty straight, right? the thing that's most important about working with a metronome is that you're going to once again build a good sense of timing. The worst thing to listen to is a person who has no timing. Like I said, it's kind of like watching a bad dancer. You want to learn to be directly on that tick, or as close to it as you would like, and that's going to start to be your foundation of rhythm. Okay? Throughout the course of these lessons, we're going to do this over and over again, working with a metronome. Okay? So now that we know our chords, you should have these memorized if you're going to be attempting this section, because this isn't going to be a walk in the park, but it's not that hard if you just keep working at it. What we're going to do is we're going to just start by just grabbing a G chord, okay? And working with the metronome, what we're going to do is we're going to set it to 60 beats per minute, okay? I like to start there with everything that I do just because it's a nice, comfortable place, okay? So this is going to be involving mostly the right hand. So what we're going to want to do is, if you'll remember earlier, we talked about keeping our wrist nice and loose and relaxed. So what we're going to do is, applying this to a strum of the guitar, we're going to be playing quarter notes, or one time per tick, against the metronome. So here we go. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, to a lot of people, they always turn to me and say, "Oh, that's not very musical." So the next step to this then is to take chords, and what you want to do is be changing from one chord to the next chord to the next chord. So we're just going to do it in the order that we learned them for right now. And of course, on this DVD, there's also a jam track that's going to be available to you to go and practice against somebody, because it's always good to play in that kind of situation as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a G, a C, and a D chord, because that's the order we learned them in. And we're going to strum each chord 4 times, and then we're going to change chords. So that it's going to go G 4 times, C 4 times, and then D 4 times. Okay? Still, with the metronome, we're still going to have it set to 60 beats per minute. And let's give that a try. So it's going to go G, C, D. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Back to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A couple more. Okay. Now, why is it so important to do this? Well, a quarter note is kind of like an inch is to the real world, a quarter note is to music. It starts to give you a basic measurement by how you will fit all other rhythms into a space. So if you needed to, build a pool and you only had 20 feet and you got a 22-foot pool, well, that's obviously not going to fit. So it's the same idea. If you have this much time to play in and you try to play 800 times, it's probably not going to work out. So what we're learning right now is to space things out so that we can develop our other rhythm skills later on and have a good foundation for what a beat really is. Okay? So This is saying most people don't hear anymore. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. You might not get this right away, but you really stick it out, and I promise it won't take you that long to get it. So have fun.